Are resources in our world so abundant to the extent that we don't need to worry about it? Are our resources depleting as time goes by? Did Allah provide mankind with enough resources to survive in this world? Well, there is actually a basic concept in conventional economics which is considered as the basic economic problem called scarcity. Scarcity can be defined as the gap between limited resources and theoretically unlimited wants. This situation requires people to make decisions about how to allocate resources efficiently in order to satisfy basic needs and as many additional wants as possible. The basic notion of scarcity is that there is never enough in our life. But the biggest question is, does this concept of scarcity also applicable in Islamic economics? Islamic economics does not view resources as scarce since Allah has provided enough sustenance for human beings. Moreover, humans are not the real owners of resources. In Islam, Allah owns everything and we as human beings are given amanah to utilize these resources wisely. All these are accountable to Allah, so as Khalifah on earth, we have to use them to achieve falah. Since economic factors such as scarcity may have a strong influence on environmental decision-making and social development, it is important to be aware of how economists link the scarcity problem and sustainable development. Sustainability of human activities is strongly affected by this concept of scarcity. In fact, some of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals proposed by the United Nations could be related to this scarcity problem.
From the second goal of the Sustainable Development Goal is zero hunger. It is defined as an objective to end hunger, to improve food security and nutrition, and to promote sustainable agriculture. Nowadays, regardless age and gender, people still struggling to get nutritious meal. In a world where it's supposed to have enough food for all, still 690 million people struggling with an empty stomach each night. Hence, eradicating malnutrition and hunger is a great challenge in our time. From the Islamic perspective, Allah has said that the resources is enough for all. But why there are still people struggling to get food and water? In the Quran, the word hunger and thirst have been stated 5 and 3 times in it. Moreover, from the second verse of the ayat 155 of the Quran, Allah has stated that hunger is a trial and calamity that have bestowed to us human beings. That is further referred as a divine punishment that have been imposed to the ungrateful people in this world. Contrarily, food security and zero hunger is a reward and paradise by Allah for its convenience. But as we are not realizing, we are the one that missed it. In addition, food waste is one of the most common things that usually occur among people when eating and buying too much food. Roughly 1/3 of the food production of human consumption is wasted and lost annually on global scales. Besides, in summary, from the Holy Quran, verse 7, ayat 31, Allah has stated that to always finish what you have, do not waste it, and live in moderation. Furthermore, by understanding the various kind of waste, it will help us to identify on how to avoid and reduce each of it. Muslims have had lessons for over 1,400 years, where it also has been stated in the Quran, verse 7, ayat 141. God instructs us to share our food with the poor, but not from the leftovers that had been from the market, which means that we need to share our food where it had been the same day as it harvested.
Dear brothers and sisters, the third goal out of 17 SDG framed by United Nations Development Programme, which is good health and well-being. The objective for the goal is towards ensuring healthy lives and to promote well-being at all ages. So most importantly, there were diverse perspectives in resources. One of it is human resources. So within the context of our third SDG, people would ask, could possibly there were scarce in human resources? Well, it is not impossible for countries like Nigeria, Liberia and Somalia, as they have insufficient health facilities, medical supplies and healthcare workers to help them to treat the poor people. Despite of that, people's contribution or their energy to distribute healthcare services will be seen as human resources. So in that manner, Allah told us in Hadith Sahih Bukhari, book 46, Hadith 3, told us to help our brothers and sisters who in need. From the Hadith mentioned above, people must helping out each other to make sure we are living in a good health together equally. So therefore, people can make from various contributions like donation for blood for people who in need. So therefore, there is no scarce in Islamic economy as people were there from time to time, and it is part of our responsibility.
Since our topic is resource cards in Islamic economy, so I'm going to relate it with the 12th SDG, which is responsible consumption and production. Some of us may not know that Allah actually has provided enough natural resources for human being. So it depends on a human as Khalifah to be responsible of the consumption and production using the natural resources. The natural resources such as water, wind, forest, etc. will never scarce if we use it wisely and carefully. We will also can ensure that natural resources are actually enough for us, and we will even feel more than enough if we are grateful for it. Like Allah promised us, لَإِنْ شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ. If you are grateful, I will certainly give you more. So how we, industries, businesses and consumers want to use natural resources wisely? Firstly, we need to avoid overproduction, cooking in excessive numbers, overbuying and overuse, so that wastage does not occur. Do you know only 3% of the water's world is fresh, which is drinkable, and humans are using it faster than nature can replenish it. Thus, we should save the water and cannot overuse it. Hence, we also get to reduce the utilities cost. Same goes to food. If we cook in large quantities for a small number of people, there is a high possibility that the food will end up in the dustbin, which will contribute to unorganized domestic waste, and it will also give loss to the restaurant. Can you see now why we need to avoid wasteful? Innal mubazzirina kanu ikhwana shayatin. Indeed, the wasteful are brothers of the devils. Other than that, industries, businesses and consumers also need to practice recycle, reuse and reduce in whatever they are doing, so that we can save the environment and save the tree. To conclude, we must use natural resources wisely. By that, we can be sure that the natural resources will not scarce in terms of Islamic economy.
In this 21st century, we witness a lot of environment issues that happen around us. For instance, forest degradation, extinction of flora and fauna, as well as water pollution. The question is, who is the cause of this scenario? Yes, it is none other than us as human beings. We are using the natural resources excessively as time goes by for our own self-interest. As a result, we face with our own wrongdoing. In Islamic perspective, Allah has promised that the natural resources are adequate for the use of human beings if the resources are managed wisely. Based on Surah Luqman verse 10 and Surah Taha verse 53, Allah has mentioned that He has created the mountains, animals, rains and plants that provide many kinds of usage so that the resources can meet with our basic needs. However, it comes the other way around in this present day, as we can clearly see that human beings use the natural resources beyond the needs. This means that we have misused the resources in this world. Therefore, how should humans utilize the resources in this world? First and foremost, from the perspective of forest management, we should utilize the forest in a sustainable way, which means that we use the forest to meet our needs, as well as preserving it simultaneously. Forest preservation can be done in a way such as preventing logging that leads to the forest degradation today. Secondly, both flora and fauna should be managed properly. Both of these species can be used for our daily usage, but need to keep in mind to preserve them from any illegal poaching and trafficking activities that will lead to the extinction of flora and fauna. But not least, from the perspective of water management, we should utilize the water wisely as well as preserving it from any pollution. With that, we can have more freshwater supply for the use of all human beings across the globe. In short, all of the mentioned actions align with the 15 Sustainable Development Goals, which is life on land, aim to protect and preserve the natural resources. each of us can take place in order to manage the natural resources in a proper manner, as it is our responsibility from Allah the Almighty. Together we make a change for our better future.
As a conclusion, human, as the Khalifah that have been appointed by Allah, must be responsible towards the environment and ecosystem. It is an obligation of a man to protect the nature, that how he protect himself from harms. Therefore, a guideline to humankind along with the Quran and Sunnah must be created to make their life easier in their daily life activities. Sustainable development was introduced to improve the quality of life while living within the carrying capacity of ecosystem. Any development activity can be sustainable if it is a dynamic process which enable all people to realize their potential and to improve the quality of life in ways which simultaneously protect and enhance Earth life support system. Zero hunger, good health and well-being, responsible consumption and production, and life on land was chosen for this project, which entitled its resource curse in Islamic economy. Eradicating hunger and malnutrition can be solved by sharing foods with those who in needs. Contribute in various methods will also help for all mankind to balance their state of life equally. Natural resources which has been given by Allah, like water, wind, forest, and many more, will never scarce if humans use it responsibly to conserve the environment. Humans also have to avoid exploiting resources for their own self-interest to prevent harm towards the ecosystem. In simple words, al-wilayah khairun min al-ilaj. Prevention is better than cure.